It's time to put all the stars together for one special race and a dance with a revived gem of stock car racing history, culminating a season's celebratory night. Live from the virtual North Wilkesboro Speedway in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, we welcome you to the third running of the Sunoco Cup Series All-Star Race, live on the KBueno Racing Network. We are definitely happy to have you with us on a very special night for this series with the All-Star Race, where alongside Bradley Cooper, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Now, Bradley, throughout a long and grueling regular season that leads up to a championship fight at year's end, what better way to have an off night to where drivers can just fight for bragging rights more than the wins, the dollars, and the championship. Tonight, it's all about that, just a straight-up showdown here at a historic North Wilkesboro venue.
Yeah, I mean, this track, of course, revamped back in the mid-2018, 2019. They brought it back for the All-Star event in the Cup Series. And, you know, if you talk about the history at this place, it had been over, I believe, 15 years before car had even seen this track. And so it still has a lot of the characteristics that it had back in the early 90s when these cars last saw a regular Cup Series event. However, the unique shape of this track, the flat surface, the rough bumps, it's going to make it rather difficult, and so that makes the bragging rights even more important, because if you can master this racetrack, it's almost it's kind of like a Darlington or maybe a Monster Mile kind of event.
It's a true test of skill here at North Wilkesboro Speedway, and we'll look at the 2024 schedule, and you won't really see North Wilkesboro unless you take a peek at the bottom left corner in fine print. The All-Star Race isn't basically front and center in this image, but we are in the middle of the 2024 Sunoco Cup Series season. Bradley, we have seen many different winners. We haven't seen a driver go back-to-back or go more than once into victory lane. Tonight at North Wilkesboro will not count for the points or for the overall season, but it will serve as a little bit of a break to what's a really long and tumultuous Season 7 campaign. We've got Charlotte next up in 2 weeks' time. That'll be the longest race of the season by far, and then we continue deep into the regular season, leading us until the playoffs. What's sort of important about North Wilkesboro, not only in the rhythmic sense for the field, but also for the competitive sense?
Well, again, it's going to be saving your tires. This surface, very abrasive. Again, it's back to the original. They did very little to alter the surface of this place. And when you're talking about the points and how your mentality changes a little bit when it's out here, this is a one and done. So drivers might make a little bit gutsier calls. I think some of these guys are going to throw some Hail Marys to try to pass and get up there fast, because early in this run, it's going to be who can get around as many cars in the first 10 laps as possible, because after that, it's going to be follow the leader.
And here in North Wilkesboro, the third ever time that the Sunoco Cup Series has ever run at this historic venue. Mind you, in iRacing, this was put in around 2020 when Dale Jr. and Dirty Mo Media sweeped this place up, cleaned it for an iRacing scan, and ever since has been revitalized now as the host of the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series All-Star Race Weekend. And funny enough, the All-Star Race is happening right now. No weather in the forecast, all dry here in North Wilkesboro in the sim. It's going to be a ton of fun, and we are so happy to bring you all of the coverage tonight on the KBueno Racing Network. But before we talk to you about the storylines heading into tonight's All-Star Race, let's go back in time and take you through what happened the last time we went on track for the Sunoco Cup Series. That was in America's heartland at Kansas Speedway. Started with Joe Sanchez and Mario Miranda leading us through the front. And Bradley, we saw a tussle constantly between Joe Sanchez, Steven Stempien, and Mario Miranda. A big crash there with the points leader Austin Reedy, but Stempien winning stage 1, then Miranda stage 2, and Eddie Smith and others in the host of the action. It was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and the names that you just mentioned are guys that have finished in first or came close to it, that were all dueling it out during that entire race. So it really did come down to, could the 99 get his first victory, or was it going to be a guy with a repeat win? We have yet to see someone have a repeat win. So it's down to, you know, Alex Huffman, Mario Miranda, Zach Wilson, Joe Sanchez, Colin Forrester, all winners this season. Eddie Smith's been runner-up. He's been just outside that winning spot at Bristol and a few other tracks. So you know, it's just right around the corner for Eddie, but it's right around the corner for some of these guys to get a second win this season.
And for a while, we questioned whether Mario Miranda can put in that final puzzle piece to get a race win in 2024. Finally got the monkey off of his back at Kansas several weeks ago. That was only his second top 3 of the season. Shows you just how much of a struggle it's been for the Oklahoma native, but finally he gets the win. He locks himself into the playoffs, and good enough for him, he's going to be running in the All-Star race tonight, which should add some extra fireworks. Let's go look at the race trends brought to you by Sunoco of the All-Star race. Since Season 3, the All-Star race winner has won at least one race in the regular season, so put your hand on that fortune cookie and see if you can crack open one and get a race win in the season. Usually the driver who gets the All-Star race win gets at least one race win either before the All-Star event or after in the rest of the regular season, plus the playoffs. You're looking at Season 3's end at iRacing Super Speedway in the All-Star race with Garrett Brown, Season 1 champ, who's going to be in tonight's All-Star race. Then the Indy cars at Texas. Lawson Peel, the 2-time champ, being able to take that one away. And then Austin Reedy with this exact combo. Next Gens at North Wilkesboro being able to grab the win. Speaking of the number 96 machine of Austin Reedy, he's won 2 of the last 4 short track races, including this All-Star race back in Season 6. So Bradley, if there is any sort of favorite driver, it might just be Austin Reedy.
Well, that would make sense. The guy leading the points coming into tonight, so his confidence level's got to be pretty high. He is currently leading that gap by about 13 points coming into today. Eddie Smith in second, just ahead of him. So Eddie yet to get a win. And, you know, with Colin Forrester, Joe Sanchez, I know that they do well at short tracks, but Austin Reedy and the Fast Banana guys, they're always, they're fast everywhere. So if you have a favorite here tonight, I think it is a good pick here with Austin Reedy. And, you know, statistics don't lie.
The numbers never do lie, and we might just have a new race winner here in the All-Star race, but so far it's been pretty hard to dethrone Austin Reedy on these types of tracks, to where he told me after last season's All-Star race that he didn't care about the momentum that it would give him because it didn't give him any momentum, and then went on to win Richmond. So I guess maybe there was some sort of storyline in that regard. But nonetheless, let's take a look at the North Wilkesboro Speedway, courtesy of our track map with images provided to us by Google Earth. Bradley, this track opened back in 1947, ticks in at just a little over half a mile. This track is really tough to drive, and on the iRacing service, not the repave that we had in recent memory. This is the old surface, swept up from the old times. It's a really, really difficult track to maneuver around.
Yeah, this track actually on a downhill on the back straightaway, so that kind of changes the way you enter turns 3 and 4. And so that's a unique short track in itself. The banking changes just on the entry. And how many times have you had a straightaway be banked? Long ways. I mean, I can't think of any other track that's like that. So it kind of changes the speed of the car. You actually have an easier time getting up to speed when you come out of turn 2. But then when you come out of turn 3, it's like you're climbing uphill the whole time. So it's a little bit harder to set up a pass to the inside. And that's one of those things that you probably won't notice unless you looked at some kind of topographical map of this place to learn, hey, why am I struggling in this part of the track? Well, it could just be the geographic or the geological formation of this place that's actually messing with you.
It's something you don't see as much with all of the other tracks on a usual NASCAR schedule, or in this case, the Sunoco Cup Series schedule. You don't have a track to where you go uphill and downhill on either straightaway, but that's the uniqueness of North Wilkesboro Speedway, and that's what makes it such an immediate classic when you think back to stock car racing history. Just a bit over 2.5 minutes until we take the starting grid and the green flag of tonight's Sunoco Cup Series All-Star race from North Carolina. We'll take a short break and be back. All-Star Racing next on the KBueno Racing Network.
Janice.
What's up, Doug? Hi, Cheryl. What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
There is Max Papis in the Ferrari. As great a race as Ferrari has ever won.
The steering wheel for me has always been a sensitive spot. There's a whole experience there that we're all trying to refine. Max Pappas, he asked me one day, he said, what can I do in a wheel? I said, well, with the new
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
There's only one fuel that can drive the performance you demand from your car. New 94 Octane, the highest octane on the market, only at Sunoco.
Welcome back to North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, where we are just moments away from dropping the green flag in the Sunoco Cup Series All-Star Race. Let's give you tonight's starting grid of the All-Star event. From North Wilkesboro, we're on the pole. It is the Florida native of Ray Rogers, former Sunoco Cup Series champ. He got the provisional into this series locked in already. He's got the pole with an 18.793. He'll be flanked alongside, so far, the Rookie of the Year candidate, Eddie Smith, in the number 87 for Poman Motorsports. Makes it a Ford Mustang front row lockout. Colin Forrester in the number 31, the winner from Las Vegas earlier this season, gets his bid into the All-Star race. That way, he starts tonight in third place. Steven Stempian in control of the race for a good amount in last season's All-Star event here. He will be in fourth place. That is your Daytona winner for Season 7. Joe Sanchez, who fended off a ton of competition to win at Bristol, gets his All-Star lock-in via that win from 5th place on the grid. Lawson Peel, the two-time champ, going to be on his outside in position number 6. Mario Miranda, the winner from Kansas 2 weeks ago, gets into this All-Star race looking for his first All-Star win. He'll be alongside Austin Shoemaker, who flanks the outside of row number 4. That's back to 8th place. Then Brandon Banks for Drinking Bros Racing inside 9th, and Shane Wyatt in the 27 round out the top 10.
11th spot's going to go to Garrett Brown with Ross Harlow in 12th. 13th position, Logan Sturgeon with Chris Shoemaker in 14th. Then we have 15th spot with Charles Stevens, Sean Kalis in 16th. Chris Progar and Dakota Curtis there with the, I believe that's row number 9. And then Stephen Harlow and Kip Easley are going to be row number 10.
Back to row number 11, you'll find Casey Knighton in 21st, Jesse Whittington having to roll from deep in this field in 22nd, rookie Jonathan Cofield from 23rd, Richard Swavely to his outside in row 12, Alex Muscarella driving the 48 this evening from 25th, Dustin Reeves back in 26th, and bringing up the rear of tonight's 27-car field, Chuck Feltz in the number 75. It is a beautiful day to go racing in North Wilkesboro. Track temp pretty hot at around 102 degrees. Air temp at 74. Wind slightly to the south at about 3 to 4 miles an hour as Ray Rogers and Eddie Smith bring us out of turn 3 and 4 to get us the start of the 2024 Sunoco Cup Series All-Star Race. We're ready to go from North Wilkesboro. Rogers and Smith to the green flag.
Already out of lap number 1, Eddie Smith making quick work there on the outside, gets the lead, cuts down over the 23 of Ray Rogers, and that's kind of what you're going to have to do. As you see, almost some 3 wide back there for third, but you're going to have to play a defensive line from here on out because it's going to be so difficult for these guys to complete a pass.
Bunch of drivers down low looking to make the bids on both Steven Stempian and Lawson Peel. You watch this battle building up for 6th place between Peel and Miranda entering turns 1 and 2. Single file throughout your top 3. Fast Banana occupying 3rd in the form of Colin Forster. We mentioned Austin Reedy, but come to find out he is not in this race tonight, so Forster is sort of the backup for the 96 in this case, rolling with the Mac Tonight colors on his number 31. He tries to back up the inside lane. They're all chasing the 87 of Eddie Smith. He really had a blistering start, Bradley, because Ray Rogers didn't have much to say to that 87 in response. Smith, in this point, pulling away, crossing the line lap 5.
And what I was saying at the beginning of this race is it's going to become follow the leader very quickly. Already on lap 5, you're seeing probably 90% of this field has single filed out. You have to go all the way back. Oh, trouble on the backstretch. Stephen Harlow's around.
And a couple of others involved. There's Harlow, Shoemaker, and Sean Kalis getting a piece of this. First caution is out 5 laps in from the All-Star race. And there's an unscathed SK Sim Racing car of Sean Kalis, but the real trouble starts with the rookie Stephen Harlow. Had some problems in the All-Star Open on lap 1. Found his way into this All-Star race regardless, and we'll try to get a replay and see exactly how this all unfolded. And this was right out of turns 1 and 2, starting with the 90 car and the 33 right behind. I think they just all checked up and sandwiched amongst each other as Kalis got all out of shape.
Yeah, just a little check up there, maybe a wiggle there as well, trying to get the horsepower to connect back down on this racetrack. And there's a slight little bump there on the exit of turn 2. You're going to ride on board here with Stephen Harlow. But you'll see this little, it's just almost like a subtle wiggle that, yep, causes that right there, that bump down on the entry of 2, and then it just set the car off.
Harlow getting minimal damage, and you see Sean Kalis getting the piece of that. The 4 car of Chris Shoemaker also getting a hit, so all of them will enter pit road for some early damage repair. Now, here in this All-Star race, you do not get a fast repair awarded to you, so if you do get any damage from a crash or from any other circumstance, you will have to spend all that time repairing the race car on pit road. But luckily enough for a lot of these guys, it's a short track, it's an All-Star race, you probably don't need to have that much damage fixed. This car and this track doesn't really depend a lot on the aerodynamic side of things. It's more so about if you can keep all of the fenders intact. But Eddie Smith doing a beautiful job of getting ahead out front above Ray Rogers in the 23. Colin Forrester, Steven Stempian, and Joe Sanchez reeling the rest of the top 5. But you saw a bunch of the experimentation early on, Bradley, through this North Wilkesboro track. You know, it's a worn-out race surface. You've got multiple lanes to work with and a lot of bumps to maneuver around as well. What did you notice there over the first 8 to 9 laps that maybe we can keep an eye on, potentially Highline?
I mean, yeah, this track could adapt to that, but they're going to have to stay green for quite some time to get the track surface heated up. This is one of those places that once you rubber it up enough there on the inside, the outside would be dominant. However, it's still a little bit slower up there, so if you can master this low line and keep the grip on the back tires, you should be okay to keep running down there for the entirety.
Ready for the restart at lap 10 of 100. Green flag back in the air. Rogers off to a sluggish start back to turn 1. Forrester has the door wide open to make a bid on the inside for second. Stempian floats up high with a potential look at 3 wide, and Forrester steals away P2 at the exit of turn 2. Now Joe Sanchez, Miranda, and a heap of company want to take over the spot that Ray Rogers is occupying early. That 23 car on a plummet early on.
Yeah, Rogers, once you get kind of pinned there on that outside, it's difficult to stop. I mean, it's the damage, it's the bleeding, so you have to find a way to make that happen and get it down to the inside line. He's got a hole there in front of Peel just for a moment, but it looks like he's not going to be able to get there. He does get down in front. that's what he's going to have to do. I think he'll stop seeing those 23 loose positions at this point.
Rogers, one of the drivers, one of the 10 that were locked into this All-Star race as a part of being the Season 2 champion of this series. So Rogers looking to hold on to top 5 territory as Stempien and Peel go side by side. That's going to be for 6th place right behind these guys as Eddie Smith pulls to the tune of about half a second over Colin Forrester. And what else to say about Eddie Smith other than, wow, on the rookie season, he's been able to snag a top 10 in all of his starts as the caution comes down. He also finished 3rd in the MPI Xfinity Series race here. Last season, caution is out for just the 2nd time tonight, and I think Charles Phelps might have been involved in this one.
I know that I saw Cofield involved in it as well, so we'll have to go back. I don't know if Phelps got a piece of this or... Looked like they were smoking and broken already, so maybe it was Chuck Phelps. Not quite sure here.
Seems like this was it out of turn 4. I'm not sure whether he got loose out of turn 4 or what. I believe that is the case. On-board look here with the 75. This is at the very back of the field.
Yeah, it did step out on him on the exit of 4. But I thought he had it gathered back up here on the inside, and then it continued to step back to the outside wall. Really strange.
Seems like he didn't know whether he should keep it in the gas or whether he should have just held on to the brake, because in this next-gen car, it doesn't like yaw all that much. So a lot of the times, the solution to getting out of a slide is to just lock up the brakes and the car should correct itself. Not sure whether Chuck was on the fence about whether to lock up the brakes and let the car simmer down or whether just to let it roll and see what happens, but unfortunately it sends him up into the outside wall. As a result, Phelps is 3 laps down. He was also one of those drivers to run into this race from the All-Star Open that was held a little earlier on tonight, so not the tune that Phelps wanting to listen to here early on. He's 4 laps down and counting as we roll through this race. 17 laps in the books. So Eddie Smith continues to lead this one. He is yet to relinquish that top spot. Colin Forster, though, doing a solid job of getting around Ray Rogers, and a bulk of other drivers in the traffic line were able to get around the 23, drops him all the way to P5 at the end of all of this. So it seems like he'll just have to recoup and get himself gathered, because running that outside line on the restart was not what Rogers had in mind.
Yeah, I don't figure that you probably wanted to lose that many spots, especially since it's going to be so hard to get him back. And early in this race, he still has plenty of, opportunity. But, for every lap we tick away under caution, that's less and less that he's going to be able to, it probably takes 7 or 8 laps to work on the guy and actually complete a pass. And that only happens late in a run. So if we keep having caution laps, these tires get cooled back down, it's going to be even more difficult to actually complete a spot.
Rogers on the inside this time as the field chases Eddie Smith, who runs down low on the front row with Colin Forster to his outside. We saw that middle lane work wonderfully the last time we were here in the Season 6 All-Star event. This time the inside, though, with the jump first back to the green flag at lap number 19 of 100. Smith up and away early. Forster trying to chase him down as the battle for 3rd heats up. Sanchez and Miranda going toe-to-toe.
Miranda on the outside. We haven't really seen the 99 complete it.
Oh,
more trouble in the back.
Shoemaker,
We're wide.
the 14 car of Austin Shoemaker goes for a slight spill in 3 and 4, but we're going to stay green. And now another car around. Jesse Whittington right in front of the field, T-boned by Brandon Banks. There's the yellow for good. 3rd caution of the All-Star race.
And Whittington's just going to bring it straight to pit road here, but this happens after. Right there's in the background is Shoemaker. You'll see that. But, yeah, Whittington is after the very next corner.
14 going by, Brandon Banks slowing down, and it's a slight tap from Stephen Harlow. That brings the 94 up and around, and Brandon Banks, with nowhere to go, just smacks him right in the left side of the race car, and that bumper is torn up.
Fortunately for these guys, though, as long as the suspension is still intact, this car can still handle pretty well here. You can afford a little bit of aero damage on these cars. So You might be able to get it back out there, but I know that Brandon Banks completely tore the nose off that, so the likelihood of the suspension being broken is pretty high as well. Might be able to salvage the day. Bring it down pit road, it's very likely that you're going to end up at least a couple laps down trying to repair that damage.
And there's the 54 of Banks, 14 of Austin Shoemaker ahead of him, getting some tires and some damage repair after he got a piece of the outside wall. It appears that Banks is all good, so he will be able to continue. So we'll just run this yellow flag as scheduled, our third here at lap number 23 of 100. So certainly a caution fest to bring this one out in its beginning. So Darlington is usually the race reserved for throwback schemes, but North Wilkesboro seems to be the second option for several drivers in the field. One of them is Steven Stempian, the Daytona winner in the number 88 machine. Well, this is a classic scheme throwing back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the late 90s. That AC Delco car that won several Busch Series championships on display with a spec map and beautiful schemery on the 88 Chevrolet Camaro tonight. Ross Harlow also with a scheme of his own, so both of them throwing back to the Earnhardts, especially with this one, really nice to see.
Yeah, a lot of Dale Jr. tributes on this 88, but this one in particular kind of special, especially when you want to go back to the history between Dale Jr. and Dale Sr. A lot of good memories there, and Steve Stempian rocking it there on the 88. But if you look even, I would say go back here just a couple more cars. There's a few guys back here that are running and have been running similar paint schemes to throwbacks. The three of Ross Harlow, he's in an all silver, kind of an RCR throwback. I don't know if I can recall the exact race that car was out, but yeah, that's definitely another one of those cars that comes to mind as very memorable for Richard Childress.
When Ross Harlow posted in the Discord this paint scheme and mentioned the inspiration for the throwback, which was a Dale Earnhardt inspired paint scheme, he called it the Silver Secret. And then Steven Stempian responded by saying, I have a secret to tell you. I don't know what the secret was. I don't know what kind of banter it was, but nonetheless, both of them running Dale Earnhardt family lineage paint schemes tonight. A lot of other drivers with their own specific paint schemes, but that one was probably one of the more fun stories to break out here on this All-Star broadcast. 1/4 of the way through in this All-Star race, Eddie Smith grabbing the green flag, Miranda down low for second place.
Well, these drivers know that there is going to be a caution at lap 50, that stage 1. And so they have an opportunity right now to pick up the spots. The 99 Miranda peaked to the inside, but Colin Forrester a little bit better on the exit, able to hold on to second.
And there's the look on board from Smith as he tries to hold off the army of cars right behind him. Ray Rogers, you see in the background, looking to make a bid on the inside of this Ally Chevrolet. That's Joe Sanchez, the winner at Bristol earlier in the campaign. Midway through the corner, Rogers has the upper hand. He clears that 55, and here comes Stempian to look inside. That's going to be for the last spot inside the top 5. A lot of these guys rolling down low, but you're really at the mercy, Bradley, of those bumps at the very inside of the racetrack. You've got to be very careful, but for a lot of these drivers, seems to be the only option, while others want to experiment with that middle lane, although it's coming in few numbers.
Well, you just saw Stempian coming out of 4. He was completely sideways there for a second. Got the power to hook up, but you can actually use those bumps towards the inside to rotate the car. Sometimes you can hop them just right, and that'll point the nose for that exit. It's when you hit them the wrong way, and you'll see that. Maybe you slide up into the guy on your outside, so it's especially more tedious when you have somebody trying to overtake you or you're trying to overtake them and you're hitting those bumps. You just saw Sanchez, I believe, tag the wall there.
Sanchez fighting hard for that last spot in the top 5. He remains on this defense against Steven Stempian for dropping the hammer. Sanchez, though, will have the blessing in disguise. That's his teammate for Drinking Bros Racing, Lawson Peel, right behind him. He's set up a pass of his own, and Peel was running here at North Wilkesboro with these next-gen cars literally last night. He was running them as a part of the Bar Visuals FTF Cup Series. Got into some incidents, but still survived all the madness. It was a way longer race. Peel running way up top. He was learning from what the other drivers were doing in that FTF event. He's going to use it to get around Steven Stempian, and now taking the look at his teammate Sanchez, still up for 5th place.
Just behind that there, I saw a peek by Steve Stempian. He's working on Lawson Peel, almost some contact as they went into turn 3. Now he's to the inside again. Peel's going to cut the nose off there on the exit of 2 and come right down onto the inside to Sanchez now, so they're picking up 2 or 3 spots here for the 12 team.
12 car already up several positions, moves up into 5th. He is the only car taking it way up to the outside wall, using that diamond arc to his advantage to get the run off the corner. He's going to be able to take the spot away, and into 3 and 4. He'll look to chase down Ray Rogers, who's done a nice job of slowing the bleeding down, and all of that hemorrhaging now seems to be solved for the driver of the 23, who had his best run of the Season 7 campaign at Kansas several weeks ago. We were sort of looking at how well the 23 was doing, and it had been many seasons since we've seen Rogers in that specific form, and good to see him now, 35 laps in the books, running inside the top 5. Joe Sanchez has dropped off to 7th place and had a really rough one at Kansas several weeks ago. Was in contention for the win early in the race. Probably could have won a stage or 2, but unfortunately connectivity issues took him out of contention. But before that, we talked to him after Talladega, where he fell just short of the winner, Alex Huffman, and he said, quote, "I think the fact that I've been in contention to win the past 3 races says a lot for me. I didn't think I'd be this caught back up with these cars after not driving them for a year and a half." I think that's something that really stood out to me, Bradley, because I don't know how you can not get into a car for over a year and a half, get back in it, and all of a sudden be on an even playing field with all of these guys in this series.
Yeah, that could have fooled me. I mean, it looked like he'd been practicing pretty much all year, and he came out here in the first 3 events, was up in the top 5 for most of the day. Didn't always get the finish that he wanted, but there was a couple that come to mind where he was absolutely in contention. And then, of course, he got it all put together at Bristol. So, I mean, here we sit right now with Eddie Smith, and Mario Miranda did get around for 2nd position. He got by Colin Forrester. He's starting to slowly close that gap up to the lead. It went from about half a second. It's down to just 2/10.
Miranda doing the work here early just to get around the competition and utilizing a bulk of the inside line just to make most of these moves. And for Miranda, who started this season off on a pretty rough note, has since turned it around somewhat with some great finishes, Bristol included, where he was one of those in contention for the W, and finally got that lock-in golden ticket with the win at America's Heartland, Kansas Speedway, just several weeks ago. And midway through the regular season, Mario Miranda is looking to become that villain that everyone knows very well and is always a threat. Race in and race out. He has been picking up the pace on Smith, set a faster lap by about 0.03 of a second. The last cross of the start-finish line. We'll keep tabs on those two as the battle for 4th heats up. Rogers trying to fend off the 2-time Mississippi champ, Lawson Peel, looking to crack into the top 4.
Peel's been the only driver I've seen that's running up that 3rd lane. You can see he's still flirting with it right there on the entry of 1. Kind of sets it a little bit better on the exit where he's able to overtake Ray Rogers right there, and now Dempian's going to try it as well. He's a little bit lower on the entry of these corners, but it does seem like the high line already halfway through this race is starting to come in.
It is, and for the 12 car, he's using all of the green track to his advantage. It was one of the first Pied Pipers, if you will, to take up the racetrack and use those higher lines. Dempian does it to get away from the 23 of Rogers. Top 6 have broken away as Joe Sanchez has fallen off the pace quite a bit, looking to get a piece of Shane Wyatt as he runs in 8th place, and Ross Harlow in his Silver Secret throwback looking to dive underneath the Simrap Market Chevrolet and peek on towards Joe Sanchez to at least get a top 7 spot intact, although Wyatt was going to use the chrome horn of his own, use the bumper in the middle of 3 and 4. Everything's going to be okay. 5 laps from halfway home here at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Eddie Smith so far dominating this one, but I'm not sure, Bradley, how long it will last. We know that competition caution is coming in around lap 50, so give it about 3 more laps. How much of a threat will Miranda be once we restack the field and get the restart?
Well, you know these guys are going to come down and get those 4 fresh ones. They only have 2.
Stephen Harlow.
Well, that's probably going to do it for the stage then, for that competition caution. That probably will do it.
Second incident for the 33 machine. Harlow in this fight with Logan Sturgeon for FLR. And contact out of turn 4, door banging, and the 33 gets popped out of shape. It's a nose into the inside wall, and a rather harmless slide, but the 33 is going to bring out the yellow once more. And here are the leaders down pit road.
I was just about to say that's the strategy now. You have to use one of these tire sets. You can't afford not to. Eddie Smith has Miranda right up on the back bumper trying to hit the stall first. It's going to be a close one out of pit road here.
So here's the look onto pit road. Rogers, of course, having that first place stall after getting the pole tonight. And as we approach halfway, this will indeed act as that halfway stage break. Chris Progar with an out-of-nowhere stop to get him into third place as Eddie Smith leads the way off the pit box.
When a couple drivers stay out, Colin Forrester is going to be up front here on this restart. Austin Shoemaker, who had a little bit of problems there earlier in this race, just before that second caution, he came down pit road, so he has a little bit fresher tires than Colin Forrester. He'll probably fare a little bit better against this, the rest of the field from third on back. But I think Colin Forrester right now, 50 laps on the stint. It'll be interesting to see how long he can keep this 31 up here.
He might get eaten alive like a Big Mac 2 nights if he stays out as long as he does. Austin Shoemaker, like you said, I think this is just a call for track position. I'm not sure if he really cares about the fact that he's on 28-lap-old tires. If he can withstand maybe some quick yellows off the restart, could just cycle out the field to be even with the old tire competition and might just give that 14 car a bit of a chance to enter pit road on his own accord. Get another set down on his Ford Mustang. Well, actually, just to know, Bradley, Shoemaker did use his first set. When he came down pit road off of one of our early yellow flags, he did take a set. And for these drivers tonight in this All-Star race, you only are awarded 2 sets of tires. So I think Shoemaker is playing this game out of necessity, not out of track position, if you will.
Yeah, 2 tire sets definitely going to be a setback here. You come down at the halfway on that competition caution. Yeah, that one will make sense. Everybody's going to come in. But from here on out, if you've already used one set, when do you take the second one? That's I think where Colin Forrester might be a little bit ahead of the curve here, because he could have an extra set in the pits there with 25 to go. So we'll have to wait and see.
Forster is going to roll to the green flag with 53 lap-old tires. He is awaiting to use that first set of Goodyear Eagles. He'll roll from the outside lane on the front row. Austin Shoemaker right underneath him. Pace car will make the entry to pit road. Once again, another restart. We are All-Star Racing once again from North Wilkesboro. Forrester with a solid start. Shoemaker down low in turn 1.
This also sets up a weird scenario for Eddie Smith, who's been dominant thus far. Very loose off of turn 2.
He holds on to it. Beautiful save by Smith, but he will drop a ton of track position. This is the lowest we've seen Smith all night long, and here are the fresh tire cars set to break into the top 2. It starts with the 12 car of Peel, working down low with help from Miranda, gets to the inside of Forrester. That's for second.
So those fresh tires maybe caught some of these guys off guard. They're still very slick for at least 5 or 6 laps before they heat up. And so Eddie Smith on the gas a little bit soon, but this sets up, again, it was a weird scenario for some of these guys that have been up front all day, because they didn't get the restart where they had been able to get comfortable and get into their groove. Here for the 3rd position, Ray Rogers fighting on the inside. He will get clear of the 31. Now it's Stympian and Progar moving. The 31 falling like a rock here. 7th really loose into 1.
And 1 car on the wall on the front straightaway. That was Dakota Curtis, and a bunch of drivers getting loose and all over the place as Shoemaker looks to hold on to 2nd place. It won't last for that long. Miranda steals the spot, almost 3 wide near the mid-pack. Remember, Shoemaker, Forrester, and Chris Progar are on somewhat older tires as they are trying to sort things out in the back. Garrett Brown is sideways. He tries to hold on to it. We're 3 wide in turns 3 and 4.
Progar's still struggling here. He's went sideways several times here. He's getting touched again there by the 6 of Reeves. I don't think Reeves is very happy with that line on the exit there. I think he might have used his door to straighten that car out, so Reeves let him know about it. But here they go into turns 3 and 4. The 7 finally able to get to the bottom line and try to stop the bleeding. Meanwhile, Lawson Peel takes it over.
Oh, He is so close to spinning this one around. Jonathan Cofield is right on his bumper looking to take the spot away. As Peel, you're right, is pulled away by a decent margin, 0.6 of a second. The tune between Peel and Miranda. There's Rogers looking to the inside of Shoemaker. That's going to be settled for 4th place. Up for auction in turn 1 still, though. Ross Harlow being able to slowly work his way up through the field. Threaded the needle a couple of times, and that 3 car moves his way into the top 5 as long as he can get around that Mobil 1. Ford Mustang, first time all night long that we see Lawson Peel at the head of the field, and he's looking, Bradley, to become the first driver to win more than one All-Star race in series history. He did it back in Season 5 with the DW12s at Texas Motor Speedway. Could be the first time he does it with the next-gen car. Caution is out. Spinner, Chris Progar.
Man, I mean, Chris has been fighting that thing for, what, 10 laps now?
And this is the onboard look. Cofield getting by. What happens here, Bradley, on the turn 1 entry?
I think he came down. Sean Kalis was setting up his entry and got into him, but I think Chris had left a little bit too much of that inside for Sean to not try to take it.
So another look at the turn 1 entry. Kalis getting in too deep, gets Progar, sends him sideways, and Season 1 champ Garrett Brown, with nowhere to go, attacks the 7 and sends him fully around. So once again, another yellow flag, at this time at lap 63. This is a solid call for those who stayed out on their older set, specifically Colin Forrester, because he spent a bulk of this race not taking any tires at all. So first time he's able to get some fresh rubber on his hands. Eddie Smith is also revisiting pit road to get some damage assessed to his 87 Ford Mustang, and how this race has turned around sourly for the tied Ford Mustang and the driver second in Sunoco Cup Series standings as of right now. So Lawson Peel, the race leader, more than halfway through in this all-star race. We'll take a moment and step aside, but you're watching live coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series live on the KBueno Racing Network.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
There's only one fuel that can drive the performance you demand from your car. New 94 Octane, the highest octane on the market, only at Sunoco.
Back live from the virtual North Wilkesboro Speedway, coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series is brought to you by Sunoco, fueling victories from track to tank. By Max Pappas Innovations, setting the standard in wheels and other racing innovations. And by SKSimRacing.com. Drive what champions drive. Back to green flag action after a spinning crash with Chris Progar and Garrett Brown. We are back under green and glad that you're joining us here on the KBueno Racing Network for coverage of the All-Star race. Kenneth Bueno and Bradley Cooper with you here as Miranda looks right to the back bumper of Lawson Peel. Might send him into 1 and 2. This is for the lead with a bit over 30 to go.
Miranda coming off that confident race at Kansas, getting that win, setting himself up for the playoffs here at the end of this season. Lawson Peel playing good defense. These guys have already pulled out half a second over the 88 of Steve Stympian. Peek to the inside here, out of 2, not going to be enough just yet. The 12 has his hands full as they go into 3.
Not the first time we've seen these two Titans go at it. They are basically head-to-head for the all-time wins leader category in Sunoco Cup Series history. Miranda being able to beat Peel after winning at Kansas 2 weeks ago. Got 20 wins in his career versus Peel's 19. They have since pulled away from everyone else in the field. Ross Harlow working up to a race-high 3rd as Stempian looks to hold off the challenge from Joe Sanchez, and a crash behind Cofield, and Reeves into the outside wall. Yellow is out with 30 laps to go. Well, that was quick.
Very tight here on the front stretch as they came out of 4. You're going to see just a little wobble here. The 6 gets loose on the outside. Unfortunately,
Cofield.
Cofield.
Like Soldier Boy. I'm not sure whether that was a little bobble. That was way off the straight angle as Dustin Reeves goes for the spin, and Jonathan Cofield gets the direct impact, and there's the damage on the right front of his Chevrolet Camaro. Still one of those rookies looking to still make a statement to the rest of the field. Has done so several times through a pole and some good runs here and there, but hasn't been able to put the good luck fully together. He's going to enter pit road alongside Shane Wyatt, and I think another driver has also hit pit lane with them. So a bit under 30 laps remaining. Lawson Peel and Mario Miranda in contention for the win.
I want to say that was the 87 of Eddie Smith. He came back down pit road. He's got a little bit of damage on that right side. I'm not quite sure where he picked that up, but that car is a little bit more damaged than the last time we saw him. And so he's trying to get some of that fixed. It doesn't look like it's going to be bad, but it will set him back deep into the field again. So the 25 laps to go, the hopes of winning this thing after dominating the first half are starting to dwindle away.
25 laps at a track that's a bit over half a mile is not going to take long to get those laps done, so Smith doesn't really have a lot of time left in the bag in order to make his journey up through the field. He's going to need something disastrous to happen for everyone in front of him, and just for him to even get solid positioning by the end of this deal. Smith, the winner of the All-Star Open that happened about an hour or so ago, along with all the other drivers, 13, 14 of them that made it into this main race. And only 100 laps at North Wilkesboro is not that much, only half of the distance that the Cup Series is running right now. 200 is what they're on tap for at the real-life North Wilkesboro Raceway. And so with this, 25 laps remain. Lawson Peel and Mario Miranda, the top 2 drivers in this series over the last several seasons, will go toe-to-toe, and we'll try to get this one back under green flag racing. Just a reminder that the lore of the Instagram Buds saga continues with the summer and the return of a group classic, the Instagram Quarantine Street Stock League. Tune in to the weekly pre-race shows, learn about the personalities that make up the fun series, and everything else. Season 3 kicks off this summer on the KBueno Racing Network.
Wanted to ask you here because you had Reedy as the statistical favorite, but since he's not in this field tonight, let's just go off of our gut. Who do you think has the goods to get this thing done?
I don't know. I think Miranda has something to say to Lawson Peel, and I think the statement will come from the Toyota Camry front bumper. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's probably the only way he's going to get around this 12 machine is if he uses that bumper. However, he doesn't want to use it too early. Lawson Peel definitely fast enough as they take the green flag back on lap 77. Peel could definitely get back to him. He's going to allow him the outside here into 1, but it looks like he's going to get a decent drive off here, door to door, and a little touch there out of the exit.
Well, that middle line is exactly what helped Austin Reedy take the lead away, and Peel is going to shove Miranda up the racetrack, using a bit of the physicality in the middle of 3 and 4. Dropping the hammer, trying to make an entry into this. Ross Harlow and Steven Stempian going door to door. That's for 3rd. Peel is going to clear this 99 car entering turn 3. Miranda shoves him up the track, door to door for the lead out of turn 4.
That's what we thought he might try, but he tries it pretty early, and Peel, I mean, if they get physical enough, he might just use it ultimately to end it. And you don't want to put yourself in that situation where Peel can get back at you, so maybe dial it back and plan that as we have another yellow. It looks like Chris Progar around again.
And Jonathan Cofield going for a slide. Progar in the grass. Oh boy, got really sketchy near the rear of the field. I saw Sean Kalist almost get fully punted on the front straightaway about a lap ago. And the yellow is out once more. Several cars in this one. It starts right where Chris Progar and Cofield sit.
Yeah, Cofield, I think, locked it up on the inside of Progar. Slid up into him. Just enough contact that it would send. And actually watching here in the live shot, the 7 of Progar just letting Cofield know, hey, that could have been worse, but I'm not too happy. Gives him a little touch on the back bumper to say, hey, next time. And, you know, with Cofield, like you said, he's a rookie in this series. He's had some breakout moments, but just hasn't been able to put it all together. And I've seen him in other leagues. I know that he's fully capable of finishing these races, especially at these short tracks. So I'd like to see if he can get back up here and recover from this. But 20 laps to go.
And you know, a lot of people say the All-Star race, if you take away the incentive for dollar signs in the future for those who win this race, you just talk about it as a race for fun. Drivers just going out and having a bit of fun with each other. But I'd argue that for a lot of guys in the field, specifically for Cofield, who's yet to really stand out in his rookie campaign, I'd say that races like these still matter in the grand scheme of things because it helps him gain momentum. Even if the race doesn't matter, in the grand scheme of things, a win or even a solid finish and a great run could help you morality-wise going into the rest of the regular season. And we know from the drivers themselves and others around the league just how hard it is to win with this level of competition. I'm sure Cofield has that in mind every time he gets into the race car. I know he probably also thinks about having some fun as well, but I'd say that it matters a little more for those rookies versus a lot of the other drivers in the field.
Oh, absolutely. You talk about the mentality of a race car driver and how you can kind of get into these slumps and just lose your confidence. You might not see the scenarios around you or how you're performing. Ultimately, it just kind of wears you away and you start to overthink things. So the sooner he can get focused on what's important and what actually matters, and that's with anybody out here. You can go from, you know, winning every single race or being in the top 5 to suddenly you just can't even finish the thing. You got to have one race where you just place in the top 10 to feel better about it.
Well, he's going to restart in 20 seconds, so it's going to be a lot of work for him to do in the next 16 or so laps. We're doubling up the field. Lawson Peel, the race leader, taking the outside lane this time. I figured he understood exactly what Miranda was searching for momentum-wise on the last restart. Miranda will have to use the inside lane from 01. With no choice, Ross Harlow and Joe Sanchez making Chevrolets on the inside and outside of the second row. Steven Stempian and Ray Rogers file off the rest of the top 6. Then Stephen Harlow, Logan Sturgeon, Kip Easley, and the 54 of Brandon Banks to round out the top 10. 16 laps remaining from North Wilkesboro. Peel up and away, we're back under green.
That was a good charge there off the outside, but Miranda is able to get the door closed on Sanchez and stay single file. That's what he needs to do. He doesn't need any challengers left or right of him. Another bump into 3. He is trying to move this 12 out of the way.
So where I asked Bradley, is that the only option if you're Mario Miranda late in this race? Is it only to use the bumper and not to get around him another way?
Oh, Steppian's around.
Steppian with the spin. Ray Rogers and others go hard into the wall. And somehow the yellow doesn't fly until now.
That was coming off a turn 2. Steppian just gets tagged in the back end, sends him into the grass, and I think a big check up here eventually gets him on the rest of the backstretch when we have the yellow finally. But I would say about 4 or 5 different people involved in this all the way through.
Steppian and Rogers getting into it. I think it was a separate incident that Dakota Curtis and Austin Shoemaker got into because they seemed to get into the contact way after this one was settled between Rogers and Steppian. And Colin Forster back there as well, who pitted after staying out on old tires, and Shoemaker just loses it, and everyone stacks up behind him.
Yeah, I think Shoemaker had got maybe a little touch here as they went into 2. Yep, right there, just enough, but I don't think that's what upset the car. I think just back to the throttle made him snap free. So this is just simultaneous with what happened with Ray Rogers and Steve Sivian.
And there's the damaged U.S. Air Force number 43 coming out of pit road. His goal, of course, not to get lapped by the field. There's everybody else on the right side of your screen. I think he's going to barely escape being a lap down. Actually, never mind. He just lost. Just missed out on that.
Yep. I think he missed it by about a tenth there. That's close.
Have to play those games, and unfortunately, Dakota Curtis getting his tickets ripped away from him. And that U.S. Air Force car will be a lap down, will be the lucky dog if we do get another yellow flag. But as we continue to roll through these laps, we're going to be underneath 10 laps to go here, Bradley. So the time is going to run out for those guys who are looking to do something from the back of the field, especially guys like Stepien, who had been running in the top 5 for the entire night up until that small contact with Ray Rogers. Guys like Colin Forrester, who was on fresher tires, looking to carve through the field. Eddie Smith, who unfortunately called it quits before he can continue his pursuit with under 10 laps to go. He has put his car behind the wall, and in the garage, he'll finish 24th. So, I mean, you've got a lot of guys who have so little time to make something miraculous happen. I think they're just going to settle for what they have at this point.
Well, bear in mind, we do have 3 green-white checkered attempts here, Kenneth, so there is a possibility that if you're 10th on back and maybe something happens up in the front of this field, you could find yourself with a quick 3-lap shootout to get a victory. So you probably want to stick this thing out for as long as you can, especially if you're, 10th on up. There's a scenario for everything out here, and with the way Lawson Peel and Mario Miranda have been going at it, there's also a very high chance that the leaders won't be there at the end. They could take each other out.
A story of a veteran and a rookie driver at one point turning into 2 seasoned veterans of the series, now head-to-head at the end of this all-star race. 9 laps to go from North Wilkesboro. Even jump from either side of the front row. Miranda down low looking for the race lead. Some cars turn up the hill in 1 and 2. Miranda and Peel remain door-to-door, going uphill to turn 3.
He's probably going to try that move that Peel used on him earlier when he might use him up to the exit. No, he will not. Peel actually runs out of racetrack on the exit of 4 and has to lift to let the 99 by. Now you have the 3 of Ross Harlow peeking to the inside. Maybe he's going to get a shot at second spot, but you have to win here. This is for bragging rights. They're going to have 7 laps to go when they cross the stripe.
And technically, with 7 laps to go, if Miranda can hold on, this will be 2 in a row, and had a lot of positivity in the last 24 hours after competing with his team in the Nürburgring 24-hour race, where they finished in 7th in a Porsche GT3 car. Miranda happy about that, then stepping onto the stock car scene to take on this all-star race, and it's 0.4 of a second that separate the Tulsa, Oklahoma native and the 2-time Sunoco champion Lawson Peel.
Miranda didn't even have to use the bumper. He just matched the restart, which is very tough to do at any racetrack, but he was able to stick right on the door into turn 1. Didn't have to use any kind of physicality really on Peel, just ran him out of racetrack. We've got another yellow out here with 5 to go.
And it's Shane Wyatt slow on the inside of the front straightaway.
I saw a lot happening back there deeper in the field. Some guys getting loose, stepping out. Most of it I saw was between Chris Shoemaker and Garrett Brown. A couple of those guys just inside the top 10. But Shane Wyatt, you're going to see right here, just a little bit loose off the exit.
And red, white, and black number 27 on the inside of the racetrack. And we talked about that sketchy area where Garrett Brown, Stemping, and them were around, where it derived from that area of the racetrack. Just Wyatt not getting any help on that situation. Rear tires just spin too fast, and the 27 goes for the slide. Nothing crazy. Won't take him out of the race by any means necessary, but it's a mistake once more that will flat spot the tires and eliminate any potential track position Wyatt wanted to gain. Nose into the inside wall, and that's our yellow. And with that, we are headed to All-Star overtime. Oh my.
Well, this right here is the redemption for Lawson Peel. He has another opportunity to do what Miranda did to him on the restart, maybe get a good enough jump that he can get clear of the 99. It's going to be difficult to do, though. Not sure exactly where the 99 is going to decide to start on this. He seems to favor the inside versus Peel, who wants to start on the outside, and I think ultimately that's why Miranda was able to get around him, because these guys are on their favored line. If you were able to get to the inside of Miranda, that's probably your best bet here.
And if you're Lawson, do you return the favor? It's short track racing. In the words of Denny Hamlin, Bradley, if you're Lawson Peel, are you dealing the bumper?
How bad do you want it? I mean, that's probably going to be the only way. Like I said, he's running the bottom of the racetrack all the way around this place. He'll probably block. Now, I mean, this is one of the league's most aggressive drivers. We've seen it time and time again. So, you know, don't put it past Miranda to take it all the way to the grass if he has to. You're probably going to have to use your bumper. You're going to have to throw around 3,500 pounds if you want past this guy.
Well, it's all about how you can get the launch off the restart. The biggest concern for Lawson Peel is if he gets jumped by Ross Harlow and Joe Sanchez. Maybe not the 55. Might be a long shot for the Ally Chevrolet, but for the Silver Secret car, it's certainly a possibility. We saw that happen not that long ago where Peel struck the outside wall. The first driver to go for a bit on the inside, it was Ross Harlow in the 3 car. So it's safe to say that Peel isn't safe in this scenario. We will get our first attempt at overtime underway in just several moments. Lights will flicker off on the iRacing official pace car, and here is how we will do it. We'll rack them up here, run to the green flag with 2 laps to go. We'll have 3 attempts to finish this race under green. If the leader grabs the white flag and a caution is not displayed in that period, then we will race to the checker no matter what. If a caution does come out before the leader gets the white flag, we'll restack them and do it again. If we exhaust all 3 of our attempts at a green-white checkered, the race will end under yellow flag conditions. 2 remain from North Wilkesboro. Peel with an early jump to the green flag.
That was unexpected. I did not expect the 12 to beat the 99 to the line. Not sure exactly if it was just a misshift or if the 99 of Miranda showed that he was going and didn't actually commit to it. There's the tag back on the bumper. White flag in the air off of 4.
Final lap from North Wilkesboro, and all of a sudden this Silver Secret Chevrolet has a shot at winning the deal. 4 cars under a blanket in turns 1 and 2. The final chase down the front straightaway and the back straightaway. Miranda to defend. Peel going around and into 3 and 4. Mario Miranda grabs his first ever Sunoco Cup Series All-Star win.
And a big wreck behind him as he came across the line. You saw Lawson Peel get turned, then it was Harlow right after that, the 8 of Kip Easley. I mean, just a multitude of drivers across that line, everybody fighting for that spot.
What a run to the finish line. They scurried down into 3 and 4. Peel gets turned around at the last second. And for Mario Miranda, second time in a row that he brings you tonight's Sunoco winning moment. More high-performance engines rely on Sunoco race fuels than all others combined, and for over 50 years, Sunoco has been fueling top race car drivers around the world with high-quality performance fuels they can trust to power them to the checkered flag. Sunoco, fueling victories from track to tank. And how about it for the Victory Fuel Toyota Camry to get into victory lane at North Wilkesboro. And Bradley used a bit of physical action to get around earlier in the night, where he used the front bumper to move Lawson Peel up the racetrack. And despite everyone's best efforts behind, Miranda holds everyone off and grabs his first All-Star win and continues our streak of different winners in this race.
I mean, the confidence after Kansas, it definitely carried over here. Of course, this track a little bit different than that, so he had to get a little bit more physical. But for the driver that's been kind of labeled as the most aggressive, fit right into his wheelhouse. He knew the assignment, and he got it done here today. Congrats to him and the 99 team for getting it.
Mario Miranda is a student at the University of Oklahoma, and he just sent everyone to school with this latest defense on the green-white checkered attempt. Let's give you the final results from the All-Star race here in North Wilkesboro. A lot of fun over the 103 laps tonight, where Miranda grabs the win by half a second over Stephen Harlow. despite all of the issues earlier in the race, got by the mayhem at the end and grabs a second place finish. Logan Sturgeon also out of nowhere near the end. He ends up third. We'll talk to all three of them before we conclude our coverage tonight. Chris Shoemaker in fourth place, kept easily to round out the top five. Then Colin Forster in P6. Jonathan Cofield, the rookie driver, ends up in seventh. Garrett Brown, the Season 1 champ, to 8th place. 9th to Steven Stempian. And Richard Swavely, former winner here at North Wilkesboro in the Winter Series, wraps up the top 10.
11th spot's going to go to Casey Knighton with Charles Stevens in 12th. Dustin Reeves 13th tonight with Sean Kalis. And there's Ray Rogers. Unfortunately, he falls all the way back to 15th. He had struggles all day today. Ross Harlow just behind Shane Wyatt. Both these drivers were up towards the front. The 3-car was in the top 3 on that last lap. He'll finish 17th. 18th goes to Brandon Banks. Heavy damage. Dakota Curtis also some dings on the 43. And then Joe Sanchez rounding out the top 20.
21st is Lawson Peel, who was in position to win the race. Got spun around in 3 and 4. And he won't get any of the rewards after tonight's event. Chris Progar had a struggle-some evening. He finishes 22nd. 23rd will go to Austin Shoemaker, 16 laps down. Eddie Smith, who got into a self-spin on the back straightaway and just could not recover, ends up 24th. Jesse Whittington got into a crash early in the night, ends up 25th. 91 laps down is Charles Feltz, and Alex Muscarella in the number 48, unfortunately, could not make the green flag in the All-Star event. We'll take a short break and be right back with more coverage of the All-Star race from North Wilkesboro. Post-race coverage on the other side.
Janice.
What's up, Doug? Hi, Cheryl. What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
There is Max Papis in the Ferrari. As great a race as Ferrari has ever won.
The steering wheel for me has always been a sensitive spot. There's a whole experience there that we're all trying to refine. Max Pappas, he asked me one day, he said, what can I do in a wheel? I said, well, with the new
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
There's only one fuel that can drive the performance you demand from your car. New 94 Octane, the highest octane on the market, only at Sunoco.
Back live from the virtual North Wilkesboro Speedway, and this was the look at the final restart of the race. Miranda and Peel going to the start-finish line, taking the green flag, and that 99 car would hold off everyone in the last lap to get his second straight win, technically, but his first ever All-Star W. We visit the number 99 in Sunoco Victory Lane, bringing him in once more. Mario, we talked to you several weeks ago on your win at Kansas, and I'm sure that one meant a lot for you since it was a relief from all of the struggles in weeks past. Tonight, though, it was all about the fun, but I'm sure it really got serious on that green-white checkered attempt. Walk us through what that was like for you and how it feels to get your first Sunoco Cup Series All-Star W here at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, it felt great. It was kind of tense on the last green white checkered. I try to play the restart zone a little bit. See if I could catch Lawson off guard, get him a black flag. Trying to go late in the restart zone. That did not work out for me. He cleared me by 1, but somehow I was able to get it back, and it was all gloves off, elbows out. It got really intense there, and I knew going into the final lap, into the final corner of the 3, that Lawson wasn't going to stick to my outside. He was definitely going to get behind me because we had been bumping and banging those last 20 laps, and it was kind of expected. I kind of saw it coming, and it was kind of my saving grace that Ross Harlow was also there, and it kind of stunted what was going to happen or bound to happen. So, you know what, got a little lucky there at the end, but we had a lot of good pace, and I'm glad I came home with a clean car.
You know, it was a clean Toyota Camry, but it did come away with maybe some really small micro dents, especially from the first bit of bumper-to-bumper contact you made with Peel entering 1 and 2. Was that seemingly the opening statement to the war between you and Peel that was going on? Really great competition between you two near the end of that race?
Yeah, initially, I think with like 35 to go on a restart, I got behind him, and it was the first time I ever been that close to him in a braking zone, and I didn't know his braking zone, and I bumped him a little bit, and next caution I came out to apologize, and I didn't get the response I thought I would get. I don't think he believed that I was telling the truth there. So after that, he paid his payback on the next restart, and it was kind of just a back and forth until the end of the race. Definitely some really old school short track racing there, and a really good rivalry between the two of us. So I'm glad we can race each other that way and not wreck each other. And it's kind of unfortunate how the race ended on the last lap, because that would have been one heck of a finish.
It would have been a lot of fun, but even then, it was great to see you turn away from the rest of the field out of 3 and 4 to grab your first All-Star win in this series. I asked Austin Reedy this question when he won this All-Star race in this combo last season. I said, does it give you any more momentum heading into the rest of the regular season? And he flat out just told me no. He wasn't really enthused with the answer and just said, man, it's just an all-star race. Doesn't really mean that much. For you, does it mean a lot in the context of the grand scheme of things, especially considering you won at Kansas 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think what adds on to it is like coming off 2 weeks in a row, winning 2 races in a row, and maybe this is not official, but it still feels good to know that what you did in the previous race wasn't a one-time thing, that you still have the pace. And then just winning 2 in a row in general is a hard thing to do in this league. So doing it felt nice, and it's definitely a momentum booster heading into the season. It's definitely for fun though, and I had a blast doing it. And if I came home second or even a wrecked car, I wouldn't feel too upset about it. But winning it definitely does help with the confidence heading later.
It was certainly fun. You brought some highlights along the way, and it was great to watch all night long. Mario, on behalf of all of us here at the KBueno Racing Network, congratulations on the All-Star W, and looking forward to seeing you compete in the longest race of the season at Charlotte on June 2nd. And also a big congratulations on you and your team finishing 7th in the Nürburgring 24-hour.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely gonna sleep in tomorrow. So. And thank you to you guys, and I'm gonna go try to find $1 million somewhere.
Hopefully the $1 million is laying around closer than you think. Congratulations, Mario, and we'll see you at Charlotte in several weeks.
Thank you.
Mario Miranda grabbing the W out of all of that, leading 12 laps en route to the win. A driver who finished second is someone we didn't expect to be there at the end of the race, Bradley, but it's all about surviving, and Stephen Harlow did exactly that.
Yes, he did. Steven, I mean, you kind of had the C's part there. It looked like Ross sent it into the back of Lawson Peel, and then the 8 of Kip Beasley, the 4 of Shoemaker, a bunch of guys just getting into each other off that final turn. I said it during the broadcast. How confident were you coming into those last few laps that maybe the leaders would take each other out?
Well, I mean, anytime at a short track, if you're, third or fourth row, you might have a shot just because there's going to be calamity at the front on a green, white checkered. So I was just sitting there thinking, okay, I got to hit my marks. People are going to get crazy, and maybe I can make something out of this.
Yeah, it was definitely chaos there for that final restart. And you were up towards the front a couple times today, and the natural attrition of this racetrack, it looked like guys maybe got a little impatient. I know the grip started to go away. How tough was it for you personally to keep this car underneath you all race long?
Oh, it got so frustrating at times because it was like I know I'm fast enough to be up front. I've done way too many laps to count at Wilkesboro in anything, and I just wanted to get there, and a bad qualifying effort did not help. So I knew I had to be patient. I had to pick my spots and not be too aggressive until, we were getting down to late, like 20 to go, and I really started to have to make moves to want to get there.
Yeah, I mean, you put on the moves there at the very end. You got up there to about the 5th position, 6th position, and you were in the contention to win this thing. But started back in the 18th position. You gained 17 of them tonight. Anybody come to mind for shouting out here as we have you up in the booth?
Yeah. So I got to thank my sponsors. They've been awesome. Warrior Soar, Team Watson Racing Setups, and Project Hopner. They've all done great things for supporting me and sticking with me through this, and it's been really cool to kind of see how this career has started out so far. I want to thank my girlfriend in the other room, who's probably asleep at this point. She's got to get up early every day. My parents, my family at home, my brother Ross for racing with me, and just helping me have a competitive edge, growing up with him and having to go back and forth with him all the time. It was, it really kind of shaped me into whatever the heck this is. Yeah, I want to thank the admin for putting on a really fun all-star race. I want to thank you guys in the broadcast booth for putting something on, even though we didn't have like our normal broadcasters, but I know you and KB still wanted to be here and enjoy this with us. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, definitely enjoyable for us, and we appreciate the opportunity here at Sunoco, and appreciate you coming up here in the booth and talking with us post-race.
Absolutely.
So it is second place finisher Stephen Harlow in the number 33. And when you tell a guy there's a chance coming off a turn 4, everybody's moving out of the way, and you're just trying to navigate it. Sometimes that's how you get these victories, just one car short on it.
Never tell him the odds. He was probably not in the position to get a podium going to that final lap, but he makes use of it anyway, and a great finish for Stephen Harlow. Really happy to see that 33 car finish in the top 3 here in the All-Star race. Another driver that we haven't talked to in a minute, but really happy to talk with him once again, Logan Sturgeon. Logan, 3rd in the Open, now 3rd in the All-Star race. What was that like from your perspective in those final laps?
Those final laps were crazy. I was hoping it would get a little more chaotic. I know Mario and Lawson always race each other really hard, and Ross always races very hard. So I was kind of hoping that a little more chaos was going to ensue, but I can't complain with a 3rd place tonight.
It was wild from start to finish, and you started this one basically in the middle of the pack in 13th. What did you learn over this 103-lap race? I know it probably wasn't a long time to understand fully the way the car was handling, but what notes did you take away from the night, and how did those extra laps in the All-Star Open potentially help you in the main race?
So the Open basically went green to checkered, minus the wreck on like before the green even came out. So we had a 60-lap run, and I ended up running differently than most of the field. I ran in 5th gear the entire time. I felt like the car sat more. It was more stable in the corners, and I was able to run the high side a lot better. I was able to get back into the gas sooner than the guys running in 4th gear. So being able to kind of test that in a long run in the open. Kind of gave me an idea of how hard I could push the car, especially in that second stage.
So a third place here in the All-Star race, and we know this race was mostly for the bragging rights and the fun, but does it give you any momentum to what's going to be the most grueling race of the calendar? It's going to be a long one at Charlotte in 2 weeks' time after the Memorial Day break, and you've got a beautiful red, white, and blue number 26 that we're looking at on screen right now. I'm sure that probably will be the same scheme come Charlotte time. What's the momentum side of things like for you heading into that race after this one?
Oh, it's huge. I needed this. I needed a good run tonight in the worst way. I've had a decent season overall. The Kansas race really kind of hurt me in points. So I needed just kind of any kind of momentum going into the 600. And this was honestly better than what I thought my night was going to be. So I mean, we'll see. I like racing Charlotte, so I usually have a decently fast car there. So as long as I can keep it clean, I mean, it's gonna be a long 4.5 hours racing, but it's gonna be fun.
It's going to be awesome, and we're glad that you're going to be a part of it once again in the Sunoco Cup Series. Logan, on behalf of all of us here at the KBueno Racing Network, congratulations on the top 3 here in this North Wilkesboro All-Star race, and looking forward to seeing you take the track at Charlotte. Happy Memorial Day. Hope you spend it well with you and your family.
Yep, thanks guys. Happy Memorial Day to you as well.
Logan Sturgeon in the 26 wraps up the top 3 here from the All-Star race in the virtual North Wilkesboro Speedway. So that does it for the podium side of things, and we get to wrap things up, Bradley, and just give our full thoughts after this 103-lap race. Certainly tense, certainly chaotic in its own way, but another great one here at this classic venue.
Yeah, I think the bragging rights was what it all came down to. These guys were more willing to put it on the line, move each other out of the way. You didn't have to worry as much about, penalties and scenarios with points, or maybe you don't get to come back next week because you've destroyed this thing so bad that the admins are upset. It kind of changes that mentality for all of these drivers, and when you limit it down to a car count of about 25, it really makes for a good race. I think we can take it away from this that some of the best were out here on the speedway today.
You're right, and Mario Miranda topping them all in crazy fashion, holding off basically every single driver's bumper there in turn 3. Miranda doing the great job of holding on to win his first All-Star race and continues our streak of different winners in this special event since Season 3. No one has been able to go 2 wins in that category, so Mario just adding his name to the great list of drivers that have been able to run in this race and win it. Miranda will try to find the $1 million virtually or in reality at some point. No real reward for the winner tonight other than just the magic of getting to virtual victory lane. Just another reminder that the lore of the Instagram Buds continues this summer with the return of a group classic. The Instagram Quarantine Street Stock League makes its revival happen for Season 3, and you can catch all of the pre-race coverage live on the KBueno Racing Network. That was a series that kicked off this channel in 2020, bringing back a classic 4 years later, so we hope you're able to tune into that this summer on the KBueno Racing Network. So that would do it for us here in the broadcast booth. For Dakota Curtis and everyone at the Sunoco Cup Series and making this all happen, for Charlie Byron, Keelan Belsha, and Francisco Bacallao with the KBueno Racing Network, and for our crew on the broadcast tonight, my colleague in the booth, Bradley Cooper, I'm Kenneth Bueno saying so long from North Wilkesboro. Congratulations to Mario Miranda. We'll see you for 600 miles at Charlotte Motor Speedway 2 weeks from tonight.